Right up, Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Mr. Vice President, I'm going off script again, I know, but I just want to personally thank you. We've been through some stuff. We've gone through some of the most complex military operations this country's ever conducted, and your steady hand and your leadership during those was a great source of strength for me. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your character. Thank you for your selfless service. Thank you for commitment. Thank you for being a mentor to me, Mr. Vice President.
It's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. Did I get that one right? Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
This is a president of the United States who is a danger to the republic.
America first.
He knows he's an illegitimate president.
The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans.
The great Trump recovery.
America will never be a socialist country. I will fight for you with every breath in my body.
Russia, Russian, pro-Russian, Russian, Russia, Russian, 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 the Russians. Russian.
Russia, Russia, Russia.
And I will never, ever let you down.
A dangerous virus is spreading rapidly in China, and U.S. officials are very worried that it could come here.
This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center. There's never been an attack like this.
The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. What they're doing is using COVID to steal an election. Together, we will make America strong again. You know what it's about? Fraud, fake ballots. We will make America wealthy again. They are trying to steal the election.
Now, under the leadership of President Trump, we are fully realizing President Kennedy's prescient view of Special Operations Forces.
We will make America proud again. And watch, please, those mail-in ballots. We will make America safe again. And in millions and millions of ballots. Their vote is under what they thought they needed. They're dumping more ballots in there, okay? And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you. God bless you. If we are right about the fraud, Joe Biden can't be president.
Congress, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday edition of the Devolution Power Hour. And this is a special one because it is Christmas Eve when you guys are all watching this. Burning Bright, how are you doing this wonderful Christmas Eve where you're at right now?
I don't know how I'm doing on Christmas Eve, but I hope very well.
Yeah, this is pre-recorded.
Relaxing. Yes. And I am going like quad cameral right now because right now I am pre-recording DPH, but the pre-recorded story hour is live right now and I have that on to my left. Wow. And the chat on story hours pre-record is live for me. But when you guys are seeing this, I'll probably be in the DPH chat. But I'm interacting on this episode with the story hour chat. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
there's
you
like
sound
a
confused.
matryoshka. Yeah.
We got we got story hour live right now. This is live on the Badlands page.
And I'm in chat right now.
Did you change your shirt?
See that?
To record this? Oh no.
Oh no, I recorded story hour last night.
That's right. Okay.
So there are how many editions of me are happening? There's one in chat that's the current me, which is the past me for you guys. And there's a past version of me right there. And then I assume I'm also in the DPH chat.
Oh my gosh.
Right now commenting on our temporal commentary. So there's some inception happening.
I'm going to have a stroke if we continue down this path any further. But some weird inception stuff going on for sure. But yeah, guys, we wanted to do an episode for you, but we didn't want to go live on Christmas Eve. We want to spend time with our family and loved ones. So not that we don't love you all in the audience. We just, you don't give us Christmas presents. Our family members do. That's what it came down to.
Yeah.
But there's still plenty to talk about. I think we'll talk about some economic stuff. Man, I'm having a rough night already. This is going to be brutal. Can't even speak. I don't know how I'm going to do a show, but whatever. Some economic stuff, gold, silver, some Trump Truth social posts. That should be interesting. We're also going to talk a little bit about Brennan. He's freaking out. We have a SCOTUS ruling from Trump and calling in the National Guard to Chicago or Illinois. And it's kind of Jimmy rustling a little bit. Talks a little bit about Insurrection Act and Posse Comitatus, so we'll get into that. And then Epstein Nothing Burgers. That rug has been real juicy lately. We'll talk about some of that as well. So
I also think, I don't know if you've talked about this on your shows, but there's a bunch of stuff the last couple of days in terms of the Trump-Elon Musk convergence in many ways. I don't know if you've been talking about...
Which stuff?
Well, did you go over the space executive orders and stuff a few days ago that Trump was signing? So Trump's got all that going on, the 6G executive order.
Yeah, we covered all this on Saturday.
But while he's doing all that, then a few days later, yesterday and today, we've got all these announcements of government programs involving Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And all ahead of a SpaceX IPO in 2026. And right before going pre-record live, I was reading about a negotiation going on right now between Elon and the Trump administration to swap federal land for their projects. So we could touch on that. It's interesting.
We could. I feel like we've touched on a lot of that stuff on Saturday's show with Elon. The newest thing would be XAI being rolled into the military for, I think that's notable. But it's really, I already thought they were. I'm pretty sure I've seen 100 different announcements from 100 different AIs being rolled into, government approval or whatever. So that's really nothing like too crazy. Like it's just a next step it's the next marker, I guess. I don't know. But some of the other stuff, the land swap is interesting. Where are they looking to swap land at?
Let's just do this one right now then. Let me see. I've got it.
Well, here, before you do that, let me get a quick word from our sponsor of tonight's show. And even before we do that, what I should do is give a little love to Miss Bright and the conference we finally booked.
Nice.
For those who didn't see it, yesterday we announced, or I guess it would have been Monday when you're watching, we finally scheduled a venue and date for our upcoming GART conference. Now we have 3 of them scheduled for 2026. The first one will be in Nashville, April 9th through the 12th. It's going to be a great time. I love Nashville. So
I'm excited. I've never been. I've never even been to Tennessee,
Really?
I don't think. So
What the heck?
yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. The Bright clan will all be there.
Yeah, it'll be a good one for sure. We had a lot of people wanting us to come there, so I'm expecting turnout should be pretty good. Tickets for these are going to go on sale probably this weekend. Felt it was probably not right to time it like during Christmas, so we'll do it immediately after instead.
Right.
But yeah, then if you go to our website, badlandsmedia.tv/events, we have our summer one booked June in Deadwood, and we have Vegas booked for September, so you can save the dates a little bit for those ones. But yeah, now we also got some CB Distillery, one of the sponsors of tonight's show. If there's ever a sale you needed right now, this is it. CB Distillery's end of year sale is on, and you can save up to 50% on everything with promo code Rumble. That's right, 50%. The holiday chaos, late nights, and family parties have left you feeling stressed and sleepless. It's time for some CBD from CB Distillery. We've got natural solutions for just about everything. Better sleep, less stress, and more calm. Improved mood and focus, pain relief after workouts, even CBD for your pets. CB Distillery is different. Their hemp is grown right here in the U.S., third-party tested and free from artificial dyes or fillers. Just clean, premium CBD solutions. That's why I trust them. Seriously, don't miss this. Treat yourself. Save up to 50% on everything. Head to cbdistillery.com and use code RUMBLE. Again, that's cbdistillery.com. Promo code RUMBLE. Specific product availability depends on individual state regulations. There we go.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I'll pull up your article.
I don't know if it was why I was cured of my 3-week man flu, but amidst all the elixirs, I bought those candy orange vitamin C gummies at the store because they're delicious. And it allows me to eat candy while being like, I'm not eating candy.
Say
I'm
orange
eating
again.
Orange.
Orange.
Are you one of those orange people? Like ORN?
How do you spell
skip
it?
the second A. I mean the first A. The only A that's in that word.
Are you retarded right now?
Mm-hmm.
How do you
I'm
spell?
quadcameral. I'm interacting in
orange?
yesterday's chat too while this is happening, and probably tomorrow's chat.
Just made a fool of yourself.
Yep.
Orange.
Yeah, but those taste delicious. They're made mostly out of glucose, which I think is super good for you. It
Yeah, I've
sounds
heard that too.
scientific. Yep.
Sure.
And I started feeling better right after eating sugar vitamin C. So I don't know. Maybe we just need to roll out vitamin C gummies and Flintstones gummies and a little bit of CBD.
Yeah, man. We need a glucose vitamin C sponsor. I think that's what you're trying to say.
Right.
Because who needs all natural, healthy stuff when you can just get sugar mixed with vitamin C?
Yeah. It is pretty funny to pick up a pack of vitamins and the first ingredient is glucose.
400 grams of sugar.
But there's like 270% of the daily value of vitamin C. And I'm eating multiple daily servings of that.
Well, I mean, that's good, but you pee most of it out, the excess.
Well, we don't know that for sure. I could have the vitamin C of like 4 grown men right now.
I'm pretty sure the daily percent values or whatever is some sort of scam, probably like a pyramid scheme of sorts. I don't fully trust that.
You've never eaten just 4 chips?
No, and I haven't died yet.
Right.
Although I probably have like heart disease or something. But that's okay. We'll worry about that when I get in a triple bypass someday.
There's one person out there who counts out like 3 pretzels, 3.5 pretzels.
God, that'd be such a boring life to live.
Yeah.
Like you have a whole bag. But they're screwing us there too, because they're like, you can only have 4 of these chips from this bag, but also we're gonna give you this huge bag and only fill it up like a third of the way. So enjoy.
Right. The daily value probably doesn't divide evenly.
No.
So they'll give you like 13 chips.
Yeah.
So you get halfway through your third daily value of chips and need another bag.
The golden age to me is when I pick up a full bag of Doritos, it's actually full. Less air in those Doritos.
Right.
And get rid of the daily value. Okay, are you going to show us this land swap thing?
Yeah.
Dicking around in the other chat?
You keep screwing around, so. We've got Musk, U.S. government, in talks over land swap deal to expand SpaceX operations.
I just want to know where.
New York Times was talking about this. Starbase, Texas. That's the name of the town, apparently.
Yep.
Yeah,
they did that like in 2023, I think.
What'd you say?
I'm pretty sure that was like it was either 2023 or 2024 when they had like their huge base there and they just got it incorporated as a city. So it used to be just a base. Now it's
an official town.
Legit city, yeah.
The Trump admin's considering a proposed land swap that would transfer 775 acres of federally protected land to SpaceX, allowing Musk's rocket company to expand launch operations in the newly incorporated town of Starbase, Texas. Blah, blah, blah. The SpaceX would give the federal government approximately 692 acres of land it owns in another county in exchange.
Hold on, that's bullshit. Hold on. No.
Yeah, there's a deficit.
We're gonna give them 775 acres and we're only gonna get 692 acres.
Yeah, there's some inflation going on there.
That is some bullshit.
What's that? A 83-acre surplus is being given to Elon.
I don't like this
in this deal.
But
aside from the land swap and everything, to me, we've talked about this. You just mentioned it with the Grok thing in the military. I don't think any of this is new. I think the actuals are new. Like these things are being built out. But I mean, it's everything Elon does is still, and I know I'm open to the let's question Elon, and I think X is mostly gay and everything. I agree with all that. I know Chris talks about that a lot. But man, like at a certain point, how many deals is Trump in his current admin going to keep doing with Elon? And we're supposed to keep being like, well, maybe Elon's not like read in on any of these plans. It's like, it seems like he's absolutely vital to these things, or these companies are anyway. And
yeah, I mean, I think
timing of these executive orders is big.
I just think it's silly to even play that game at this point. Like we constantly go back to doing like the white hat, black hat, and I honestly don't give a shit about that with some of these people. Like I'm more curious about some of the like figuring out some of the stuff with like the Chris Miller and stuff I researched before. But Elon Musk, like I could see it going both ways, and I'm so torn, and it's like to the point where I don't even care anymore. I just want to see where this goes.
That's fine. I would just say, yeah, I think you're right in terms of the white hat, black hat. It's more just, are Elon Musk's companies being used by the Trump administration for the benefit of the American people? I think the answer to that is overwhelmingly yes.
Yeah, and that wasn't what you said before.
No, I know, but I guess the whole, when people play black hat games with Elon Musk, the idea is that he's somehow holding us back, like, or that he's trying to rug pull us in some way. And it's like, well, maybe, but I don't see how anything he's doing is going against anything that Trump is doing. In fact, Trump keeps using his companies to push all of his agendas forward. As you talked about Saturday night, Trump signs a bunch of space directed executive orders, and then it's a few days later he's swapping 1,000 acres of land with SpaceX. It's like, what are the companies that are going to make good on these executive orders?
What I see with Elon Musk and what I see with what Trump's doing with a lot of these people, it's like it's the mutually beneficial association. It doesn't mean any of these people are good guys or bad guys, which is, it's more so, okay, Elon Musk has this awesome companies, like multiple of them. Trump can use them for his benefit. Elon Musk can get massively wealthy in the process. It doesn't matter if he's a good guy or bad guy. At the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter. There's a story with, or maybe it was a post, I don't remember what it was. I read it about a week ago, and I read it on my show. I think it was Spetzel who sent it over. But what Elon Musk is doing with SpaceX by taking it public next year is absolutely massive, especially in terms of the AI stuff, because what they can do in space with the data centers and the energy, it's pretty remarkable. And that's where I see this going. You have the timing of the fusion merger with Trump, TMTG, and TAE, timed with a lot of this AI stuff and SpaceX going public next year. I mean, some interesting stuff. And whether or not Elon Musk is read in on the plan or not, to me, I don't know. Don't care to speculate on it. But it's easy to see they're obviously using each other. It's the drafting, like Chris Paul says,
Yeah, I think that's fair. I guess the reason you could go devil's advocate on either side of it. You could, on the drafting point, you could compare this to some of the data center deals we've been talking about over the last year. Apple. Do I think Apple is all of a sudden like an America First company just because they're doing these deals with the Trump administration? No. So that goes into that point. But I just think, and again, it's not really about Elon. It's more these companies, SpaceX, Tesla. I think that the golden age sort of infrastructure that Trump is talking about, that General Steve Quast has been telling us about a couple years in advance of Trump telling us about these things, and by us, I mean he's not been secretive about this stuff. These other companies like Meta, Apple, and Samsung, TSMC, they're all building out data centers, and I think that they're being compelled to, essentially, or incentivized to, by the Trump administration, tariffs and maybe some backdoor deals, maybe these dinners at the White House. I see the Elon stuff a little bit differently because Elon's companies aren't building data centers, right? There's like dozens and dozens and dozens of companies that are capable of building data centers. And I think the Trump administration is leveraging many of them to do that. With Elon's companies, it's hard for me to look at the stuff that SpaceX is going to be involved in and how long that stuff has been in development at SpaceX. And if you read about these space-based satellite data centers idea, that's really like the main value proposition being talked about with SpaceX's IPO you just mentioned, it is very difficult for me to see that as drafting. And I guess the reason is it's clear to me that space data centers, etc., are a huge backbone of the vision for the golden age transition that Trump has in mind. And the idea that only one company can do that is quite a coincidence, when that company is also the one that 10 years ago he was giving all the DoD money to, right? So it's like, if this is drafting, it's been a decade plus of drafting that has the synergy of that drafting to be like, who's out there planning space-based data centers is Elon. Let's help each other out with that. It's like, what a coincidence. Wow. Like your entire new golden age 6G infrastructure, the open secret that's not said in that executive order is like, these are all going to be Elon's companies. 6G doesn't happen without that. Space-based data centers do not happen without SpaceX. There's not another company that can do this stuff within the next 10 years. There's probably not another company that can do that. So to me, that's why I trend much more heavily, Elon aside, that these companies are essentially vehicles. Like they are Tesla and SpaceX, I see as basically golden age front type of companies. Just because, again, the technologies are the exact ones that Trump is leaning into, and no other company is doing it.
Well, then the question really is, do you think we would have these technological developments if Trump wasn't president?
No, I don't think so, because I think they were trying to hold all these things back. I mean, before Trump was Tesla was around before Trump was president, and every administration was essentially hammering everything they were trying to do. They were, putting up red tape against whether it was vehicles, energy grid output, all this kind of stuff, build out rather, charging infrastructure, all this kind of stuff that Elon wanted to do. They were constantly roadblocking him. And then the other stuff we've talked about is that a lot of the people in the kind of tech world that Trump has seemingly brought to heel in the last year, like those guys, the Peter Thiels of the world, the Reid Hoffmans of the world, like all of them have been enemies with Elon over the common enemy all of the worst people in the tech world have is Elon. And I mean, maybe it's been 20 years of kayfabe and he's been like super deep running deep state. But again, just the SpaceX thing, I think, is the biggest one. There's other companies that do data centers. Tesla could build out data centers. NVIDIA can do it. A million other companies can do it. Who's going to put a data center in orbit in 2027 or 2028? There's one company, and it happens to be that one. Yeah, I don't know. We're never going to get the answers to these, but you know, I just, every little headline I see where it's like, oh, the federal government we want a space program. Here's 800 acres, like a few days after the executive order. And it's like, hey, that's weird. There's a company that just built a space launch town that we need to fulfill this executive order. It's Elon. Well, look at that. To me, that it goes beyond drafting. It's like, no, these things lined up. Trump couldn't spin up another company in the next 4 years to do this kind of stuff.
No, that's fair. I've said all I've said on this. Like, I do still think it's drafting. I mean, either way, it doesn't matter to me whether it's drafting or not. It's the same headline, same outcome,
same result.
So, yeah. But I mean, yeah, it's certainly interesting. I think that land swap is gay if we're going to get shafted on it in terms of acreage. I do want to talk about. God, let's do the economic stuff real quick first. Bitcoin right now is only at like 87,000, which is weird because everything else is like soaring right now. Gold and silver both reached all-time highs today.
Yep.
We have right now gold is at 4,500 and silver is at 72.48. So hopefully you guys have been listening to us when we have been giving you not financial advice and telling you to go to badlandsgold.com and get yourself some physical gold and silver. I do believe it's only going to continue going up because I do believe, especially silver, the price is artificially suppressed quite a bit. But this is interesting. And then you talk about this, and you had a Truth Social post, I think it was.
No, I just Trump did. I was talking about it in our chat earlier.
You want to pull that up and share that?
Yeah, I agree with your note on silver too. The other note I was going to say on the gold silver prices is that one of the probably more encouraging metrics for a lot of people who have followed this stuff is that the gold silver ratio is dropping like a stone. So silver, both of them are running, but silver is already accelerating relative to gold. So it's starting to outpace gold. Like for the last 5+ years, when I've been looking at that chart, the ratio has been hovering in like the 70s, 80s, 90s, even over 100 sometimes. And right now it's in the 60s and dropping. So that's big for silver people.
And silver is used quite a bit in a lot of these like technological stuff, I'm pretty sure.
That's true. Silver is essential for the data center buildouts. I mean, pretty much anything related to gold is overstated from what I've read, like people talking about gold in electronics. The amount of it is very overstated, but silver is used in all of this stuff. Like the electrification, the kind of autonomy, that whole industry is going to rely on silver. So that's big. Yeah, Trump had this big post here. It might just be worth reading the whole thing.
Let's do it.
It's pretty good. So he calls it the Trump rule. He put this out December 23rd. The financial news today was great. GDP up 4.2% as opposed to the predicted 2.5%. This despite the downward pressure of the recent Democrat shutdown. But in the modern market, when you have good news, the market stays even or goes down because Wall Street's heads are wired differently than they used to be. In the old days, when there was good news, the market went up. Nowadays, there's good news, the market goes down because everybody thinks interest rates will be immediately lifted to take care of potential inflation. That means essentially we can never have a great market again. Those markets from the time when our nation was building up and becoming great. Strong markets, even phenomenal markets, don't cause inflation. Stupidity does. I want my new Fed chairman to lower interest rates if the market is doing well, not destroy the market for no reason whatsoever. I want to have a market the likes of which we haven't had in many decades, a market that goes up on good news and down on bad news, the way it should be, the way it was. Inflation will take care of itself, and if it doesn't, we can always raise rates at the appropriate time. But the appropriate time is not to kill rallies, which could lift our nation by 10, 15, and even 20 GDP points in a year, and maybe even more than that. A nation can never be economically great if eggheads are allowed to do everything within their power to destroy the upward slope. We're going to be encouraging the good market to get better, rather than make it impossible for it to do so. We're going to see numbers that are far more natural and far better than they've ever been before. We're going to make America great again. The U.S. should be rewarded for success, not brought down by it. Anybody that disagrees with me will never be Fed chairman.
Well, I would like to say that I fully agree with you, Trump, and I would like to nominate myself officially to be your Fed chairman. I will lower the interest rates to a negative rate. I will go negative.
That's all you have to do. I mean, just go in and be like, they're lower now.
Yeah, as low as possible and then lower some more.
Yeah,
interesting post though.
Yeah. Well, part of what we just mentioned with gold and silver, and I think this is related to your note on Bitcoin because Bitcoin just dropped to 86 when I'm watching live, and it has frustrated a lot of Bitcoin people where like gold and silver are breaking out, Bitcoin is not. And I think Trump's post is hitting on this, where gold and silver are largely seen as risk off assets. They are assets that you buy to protect yourself from risk. Now, I'm not saying that's why most people in this audience buy gold and silver. They do because of the suppression you're talking about, right? Most people in this audience are like, gold and silver are real money. The markets have been suppressed. That's why we buy that stuff. Bitcoin people in this audience, including myself, feel the same way about Bitcoin. This is true money. I think it's actually better money than gold and silver. Time will tell whether or not that ends up being proven out. I think all can and will succeed over the coming decade. But Bitcoin is trading as a risk-on asset. It's trading with the rest of the market. And that's probably because it's the most liquid market. Like, it's open 24 hours. All these big money makers can move money in and out of it. But I think Trump's post there is big because it's such a simple thing, but he's basically calling this out without talking about gold, silver, and Bitcoin. He's saying, so GDP, like the measure of whether or not the country is doing well, exploded higher relative to expectations in the final quarter, and the markets went down. And I think he's saying two things. Number one, that's nonsensical. It doesn't make sense to people who don't follow this stuff. It makes perfect sense to people who are market followers. But I think what he's getting at as well is the market makers, the BlackRocks of the world, the banks of the world, the hedge funds that are the ones who really, they can move those markets up and down by buying or selling on news. When GDP is good, they trash the market. And then GDP goes down because the market goes down. When GDP is down, they boost the market. And it's all, they gild it under, it's forward looking. That's what the markets are. We're trying to get ahead of inflation. If GDP is too high, inflation will come up. So the markets get spooked and go down. And Trump is absolutely right that that is insane, that we've been programmed to think, well, things are going well. We should probably bet against this in order to have asymmetric upside. And when things are going poorly, we should all buy the stocks, right? Buy the dip. Things are going bad. And Trump is like, how about we buy stuff that's doing good and we sell stuff that's doing bad? Like, that used to be the way things worked. And I don't know, he might be getting at where we're going in the next few years. We talked about this early this year on DPH. We had a few conversations where we had floated the idea that for the first time ever, we might get GDP going up and inflation going down at the same time, which is what he's talking about.
Yeah. I mean, technically the rate of inflation is lower than expected. Isn't going down yet, but still really good economic news. My takeaway from that is, like, he's basically calling it out for being totally fake and fabricated. The entire market and the way the financial system works. GDP itself is such a dumb fucking calculation because you have government spending in there as part of the GDP, and I think that's retarded. Like, if anything, our GDP should go up when we spend less money as a country, as a government. You know, we've spent more money this year, 2025, than we have ever at any point in history. $7 trillion. We spent more money this year than Biden ever did, than any year prior. Insanity. GDP is, it's such a stupid number, but it's all fake. And that's why, like, when he has a post like that, you're right, it makes no sense. And it does make sense, like, when things are going well, like, it should go up. Like, what is going on here? I think he's highlighting that stuff as the one who's kind of in control of the money printer right now. I'm very curious to see who he picks as his Fed chair with the pushback on what's his name, Hassett or whatever. But I mean, if we get somebody like with a Stephen Moran mindset, I wouldn't be surprised if it's somebody like in that orbit, somebody who's been part of those early discussions around the Mar-a-Lago Accords. If we get somebody like that who just comes in and is like, fuck all you guys, I'm going down to like 1% or something crazy just to see what happens. It could be interesting.
Yeah, and I think the Myron point is a good one, because whether it's him or not, that mentality of just like cut no matter what is what Trump is getting at. And I think he's telling you in that post, inflation is not going to go up when we do this. He's building himself in the caveat of like, we'll just raise rates again if inflation goes up, right? But I think he knows full well it's not going to. And I think that is why market makers are absolutely determined. I think that's what's happening right now. Any economic data, like you just said, it's fake, right? But fake means manipulated, right? It's not just fake because it doesn't make sense. I think Trump is hinting at it is fake because people are crashing the market because this GDP number that they used to use as good news came out under a Trump administration. And I agree with you about GDP, but here's the counter argument. Trump is saying GDP should be able to go up and things should get cheaper at the same time. And the 15-20% GDP numbers he's throwing out there have not happened in 100 years. And that's why I think he knows it's going to happen. And I think it's actually tied into our last topic about Elon Musk and SpaceX and all this type of shit. Whether these things are all entirely real or just kind of translations of why GDP is going to go crazy, we're going to get an economic boom, the likes of which we have never seen before, and prices are going to come down. Real prices. I agree with you right now. The rate of inflation is what's slowing. He's saying we're going to get cheaper groceries, cheaper energy, cheaper houses, cheaper everything, and the stock market's going to go fucking crazy, and assets are going to go crazy. And I think what he's getting at is basically we've been programmed into this faulty belief based on nothing that there is a finite amount of productivity in the world. And if GDP goes up, it means inflation has to go up. And, this is the amount of wealth that's in the world, and it's fixed. And when one country has it, the other country doesn't. And I think what he's saying here is actually, if we enter an age of near limitless energy, limitless productivity, and autonomy, we can basically have an infinitely scaling civilization, which is what all the tech optimists that people make fun of, like Elon Musk, has been saying for 20 years, that the lie they have programmed you with is that there's this scarce amount of wealth and productivity in the world. Once we have actual autonomy, there's no reason to believe that that's a thing.
There was a post that Elon Musk had I think it was today. See if I can find this real quick, because it was kind of along the lines of what you just said. And I think this would be worth sharing. And the response to it's pretty interesting too. I think I found this on Chris's Telegram, so it's obviously going to probably be a little more skeptical than your take, but
yeah. Well, you need both sides of it is important.
Scott Adams, will money have value when the kids turn 18? Elon Musk responds, civilization will either be gone or AI robotics will eliminate scarcity. Either way, money won't matter. And this is the response. This is what Chris, his Telegram shared. And I don't know who this Chris Langan is. He's heralded as the smartest man in the world by alternative underground mainstream media.
And it must be true because he put it in his own bio.
Yeah. That's funny. I did a post today before I even read this. I did a post earlier tonight, and the amount of people that thought I was being serious is so funny. People I'm muting you. You're such clickbait shill. And let me read it. Breaking. Multiple sources familiar with the matter are raising questions about a situation that could be far more serious than previously thought. Something may have happened, said somebody you've heard of, but who asked to remain anonymous for fear of people finding out they didn't exist. It could be bigger than expected, in quotes. While there is no evidence at this time, the engagement surrounding this story and the siren emojis in this post means it's super real and serious. More details to come if you subscribe. Obviously making fun of the clickbait brigade because they're on fire with the Epstein stuff going on. But numerous people responded, and it was oh my God, I can't believe you. You're such a shill. Anyway, oh, for God's sake, are you sniffing glue? Money is a fungible abstraction of resources. Your statement, therefore, equates to resources won't matter. There are two ways to interpret this. Either everybody's dead, or people like you are planning to hog all the resources the way you hog money and dole them out as you see fit. Obviously, that's no good. Someone like you simply isn't in a position to tell me or the rest of humanity where the resources should go. You're not that bright. Which one will it be? We both know you don't have true AI. What you have is a highly inaccurate data scraping machinery. So basically, you're predicting the death of civilization and everyone's kids. Do you and your bankster friends plan to kill it off by starvation? What the hell do you smug geeks have up your sleeve? The world needs meritocracy, not technocrat. How do you say that word? Technocracy.
Yeah.
A tyranny of overrated techies is not a meritocracy, but just another shitty little tyranny. Only if resources are proportionally coupled with merit do we have a true meritocracy. Only with a sound merit reward coupling do we have a just and balanced economy. I suggest you start thinking about swapping out quite a few overrated techies in college indoctrinated engineering hacks for smarter and better people. Interesting, I thought.
Because yeah.
Just real quick, this wasn't too long after, wasn't it Elon Musk who said like energy will be the new currency? He said that like a couple weeks ago.
He said in this context, because he's been saying this for a little while. He said he's been saying for like a month lately. He doesn't think that we're going to have money in the way that we think of it. I think this is, and I'll play the other side of the devil's advocate here. First of all, there's one thing Langdon says here that is false. And I know people at Badlands disagree with me. Elon actually does have AI. And if you don't understand what AI is, and you're thinking about Grok, which is a large language model. So if that's what Langdon is talking about, then yes, large language models are not really what these guys are talking about when it comes to AI. And I think that people claiming large language models are intelligence are basically blowing smoke. But if you sit in a car that can drive you anywhere, and the key is the car is not doing that based on pre-mapping of conditions or LiDAR. The difference with Tesla, which is the only company in the world that can do this right now, is that the car is operating on a vision-only system, which is a vision system with a neural net. That literally means the vehicle is thinking the entire time it is driving. And everything that it sees, it is thinking about and reacting to in real time. And there's proof of this everywhere that you can look at. First of all, you can sit in one yourself, which is the ultimate proof. But edge cases in driving happen all the time. Something that went viral a few days ago, or maybe even yesterday, is all the Waymos in San Francisco shut down because the traffic lights all went out, right? Mm-hmm. And in those same videos, Teslas are driving around. You can't do that without real artificial intelligence, meaning reasoning machines that are understanding the situation that is happening and reacting to it accordingly. The reason I dismiss people like Langdon is that even if there's merit to some of the other stuff he's saying here, he's asserting a claim here that is easily debunked about Elon doesn't have AI. And that's why I think a lot of the anti-Elon people sound stupid, because it demonstrates that they haven't actually done a lot of reading into what AI is and what's on the horizon. So that is a huge mistake in this post. But beyond that, the money thing, Elon has said, I don't think we're going to have money or need money. But then he said, I think value is going to be largely consisting of energy or defined by energy. And then he brought up Bitcoin and said, you know, we might denominate energy in Bitcoin. Some Bitcoin maximalists, such as G-Money, have actually been talking about Bitcoin not as money, but as an expression of energy. Major Jason Lowry has been saying this. So the deepest layer Bitcoin maxis have actually already gone well beyond the money debate and are talking about Bitcoin as an expression of energy, which is the only thing that would matter in an abundant world in terms of value denomination. So the funny thing is, Elon is being called like a technocrat by this guy or some kind of overlord, but the vision he's laying out is the same vision that a guy like Jason Lowry is laying out, even if their framing is different.
Let me play this. This is the clip we're talking about.
Energy is the true currency. This is why I said Bitcoin is based on energy. You can't legislate energy. You can't just, pass a law and suddenly have a lot of energy. It's very difficult to generate energy, or especially to harness energy in a useful way to do useful work. So I think that probably we won't have money, and probably we'll just have energy, power generation as the de facto currency.
I didn't know what to say, but that's an interesting response from Elon. Interesting thing for him to say, because the way people talk about Bitcoin, as you said, Bitcoin is energy. Very interesting.
Yeah, and some of this gets lost in semantics, and I'm just giving the devil's advocate side of it, and it is what I think he meant by it. I don't know if that's right, but the idea, I think, part of the problem that even I think a lot of gold bugs, silver bugs, Bitcoin maxis would agree to is that the definition of money has largely lost its meaning, right? People use it interchangeably with currency. And to me, I think a lot of what Elon is framing there, he could be Michael Saylor, he could be Jason Lowry, he could be G-Money, just saying it a little bit differently and basically saying what you are thinking of as money, if we win, is not going to matter. But if you have something that is denominated in the only thing that does matter, it's going to have immense value, right? Like another analogy to this would be, is your house money? No, right? Nobody would consider your house money. Does it have value that you could leverage to get other things or to protect your family? Yes. Your land has value. I think that's the same thing with Bitcoin and energy. So, and I think even some of the stuff General Quast has been talking about for the last few years, he's been talking about these modular reactors, resharing energy into the grid, like households storing their own energy, having excess energy and being paid for it. This stuff is all related to each other, I think. So yeah. I actually thought that post by Langan wasn't, I don't know, I didn't think it made a lot of sense, but I don't know.
I thought it was interesting in terms of what we were talking about. I don't necessarily agree with it either, but
yeah,
kind of seemed like a douche canoe. But I want to share this clip now because you made me think of home prices, and Trump had some interesting comments on this. And I think he's absolutely right about it.
On housing, you talked in your address last night about housing. Yeah. Are you still considering a national emergency over housing?
I'm looking at it.
What would that look like? What would that look like?
There's two thoughts on housing. You have a lot of people have housing that because we have such a strong time and such a strong market, their houses are very valuable. It's a big part of their net worth, their house. I don't want to knock those numbers down because I want them to continue to have a big value for their house. At the same time, I want to make it possible for young people out there and other people to buy housing. In a way, they're at conflict. In other words, you create a lot of housing all of a sudden and it drives the housing prices down. So I want to take care of the people that have houses that have a value to the house that they never thought possible, that have sort of made them wealthy and happy. And, especially in their later years, got to be careful with that. I want to keep them up. At the same time, I want to make it possible for people to go buy houses.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting too, because I've talked a lot on my show about, first-time home buying, the housing price and everything. The average age of a first-time home buyer right now is 40 years old. It's insanity. And he's hitting on the problem here. It's just like home prices are so high. But if we bring home prices down, all the people who are older and have houses like paid off, like a lot of their equity and a lot of their, net worth is in their home, and it's not many other places. So like, how do I provide housing for, first-time home buyers at a younger age, like for the American dream, while not totally destroying the retirement of half the country? Like it's an interesting conundrum he's in. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't thought about it phrased that way before. And it's interesting.
It is interesting. And I don't know, if we game out, I think, all these topics are actually blending together in a good way. So how can Trump get both? We just kind of talked about this with GDP plus deflation. How can you get both? We've been told that those two things are opposites. Well, we're starting to get both in the waning days of 2025. So how could we see that with housing? And I think this might be tied in a little bit to the 50-year mortgage thing Trump is talking about. But if we layer a couple more things onto it, maybe it could make sense. So if you relax borrowing standards, or maybe the burden of it, because you don't want to get another bubble going on where people are borrowing stuff that they can't pay back. Mm-hmm. But if you relax borrowing standards, if you go after the banking industry, which are making money hand over fist on these loans, that might be one way to do this, right? Or one piece of it. So right now, the idea is that a bank is taking some kind of risk by lending you a house, right? That's why they get the interest. That's why when you buy a $500,000 house, you're actually paying them $1 million over the life of the loan. Except they're not taking any risk, are they? Because all these banks can and will be bailed out by the federal government, which is to say you, if you default on your loan. So that's the racket. The whole banking industry has been making a profit off of risk they are not actually taking.
Yeah, but but how does that relate to the home prices? Because that's where I think he's hitting on the head. It's like you can't simultaneously lower prices of homes by injecting a whole bunch of new supply, right?
Yeah.
Well, because you're going to screw over the people with the high prices of homes right now. Like they're sitting on this equity. But if you get rid of that equity, just so other people can get into houses, you benefit one while hurt the other, or you leave it the same and you're hurting one to the benefit of the other, you know?
Yeah. The only way that I think you could do this would be the thing that everyone thinks is impossible, that only Donald Trump and Elon Musk are talking about, which is growth in all caps, the likes of which we've never seen. So the idea would be the earning potential and the value of the money of the American people going up at a rate it's not gone up before. I don't mean inflation, I mean the opposite, to where the housing market could stay high and even increase, and yet an entry-level job maybe is paying $100,000 in 2 years rather than $50,000. It would inflate the housing market too, but there'd only be so much. I think there's a lot of ways you'd have to attack it, I think, from multiple angles. He's hinting that it's definitely very complicated. But I just meant that the risk angle is one reason why houses are so expensive. If you took away, like if you increased real wages, that would be inflationary on housing costs, right? But if you did that at the same time that you cut lending, that you cut the profit margins of these banks, that would be deflationary on houses. So maybe there's a way you could do both of those things at once and kind of keep an equilibrium. People make more money, but the banks are not making more money. Because I just think it's a racket that they've been like, you look at what you're paying your local bank, and you're like, oh, thank God I'm helping out the local bank with all the interest, and they're just going to get bailed out if you default.
Yeah, I can't remember the phrase of it now, but it's the idea that I think it was Bill Pulte threw out there. It's the mortgages that you can like take with you. If you like your mortgage, you can keep your mortgage. Can't remember what it's called right now, but there's a term for it. But essentially, like if you have a 2% loan or something and you don't want to lose that, and so you don't refinance, you don't buy a new house or anything, you just stick where you're at on the house you're at because you got this great interest rate. Well, if you can take that interest rate with you, maybe you will go to a different house and get a bigger house and put yours available to somebody who can afford, a cheaper house.
And I think one of the ideas in that, if I'm not mistaken, was that you could also have the option of selling your mortgage to a buyer. I think that was discussed as well. So like, to your point, and that you might think that might not make sense, but if you're a 70-year-old boomer who's like, I'm downsizing from this 2,500 square foot house, I'm going to a 1,400 square foot condo or something like that. I have cash from the sale. I don't need a new mortgage. So the interest rate, 6% interest rates don't matter to me. Well, this 35-year-old couple, they see a 2.9% interest rate that you got in 2018 for your third house. That's super attractive to them. So
now, how would that work though? So like if somebody has a 2.9% mortgage and it was a $300,000 mortgage, they got to pay down to, let's say they have $100,000 left. If you're selling that home for, I mean, honestly, you're probably selling it for like $500,000. Does that mean the people getting the home and the mortgage, they would have to front like $200,000, $300,000 in cash? Where's that difference?
I'm not sure if that would
the difference
only be
there
on
is
the
going to have
original.
to be a separate loan or something. Because like no bank's just going to give you that extra cash to pay out on the existing interest rate. Or maybe they would. I don't know. But that's
maybe they need to be leaned on. And this is where, like, I think we're going to see this in, I'm sure, like everything we see, it's going to be translated in however it's going to be translated. But
yeah,
what we kind of mentioned in the first topic of the show, Trump, whatever we think about who's good, who's bad, who's doing these things willingly or not, it's clear that the Trump administration is leaning on big tech and everything. another industry that it seems like they're prepping to lean on is the banking industry. Like put their hand on the scale and say,
I hope so.
Wasn't that the last Trump had that infamous August sit down with all the techies, the Zuckerbergs of the world and everything, Bill Gates. He had one in, it might have been October or November, something like that, with the bankers, like with JP Morgan and everything. I don't think that was an accident. So I don't know. He might need them. You know, you're talking about it from like an incentive structure from the bankers side of the equation, which I think is true. What if he comes in and he's like, this is fucking over. You're not making 7% on $1 million mortgages anymore, you pieces of shit that are backstopped by the American people. Like, you are going to take on actual risk. And that's their reward for taking on actual risk is profit.
You know, that's the ideal situation. Obviously, Trump like just kicking all these corrupt industries and reforming them or something, fixing them somehow. It's just, I go back and forth on this. Like some days I'm just, you know, super annoyed at everything I'm seeing. Some days I'm just like having a great time with it. Mostly I'm having a great time with it. But I've been thinking a lot lately because I've been reading through this new manual. And it's not new, I should say. It's actually really old. It's like from 2003. This old PSYOP manual. Let me see if I can pull it up. Just don't remember which browser. Yeah, here we go. I had it on this one. It's this psychological operations, tactics, techniques, and procedures. And the more I'm reading through this stuff, the more I'm starting to like become convinced that, and we talk about this all the time, how Trump is like running his own psyops and it's all psyop, you know, narrative war for all these things. I'm, you know, we talk about this golden age, this impending golden age that's coming, and that's what Trump is building towards. But we don't know how we get there. We don't know if we're gonna be able to fix all these problems, blah, blah, blah. Is some of the stuff we're seeing, the ridiculousness of it, on purpose, because he wants us to recognize how retarded everything is, so he doesn't have to do it the old-fashioned way. He wants us to, like, come on, guys, like how much more ridiculous. I'm sitting here telling you guys that the economy's good, just like the Biden administration did for 4 years when it wasn't any good. And right now it's like, this is the first actual, you know, if you can believe the numbers, good reporting numbers that we've gotten. And do you feel this at home? Like, are you feeling this on your prices? We talk about this all the time too.
Right.
Like, is it becoming that clownish where he's doing it on purpose because he wants us all to be up in arms, which I'm feeling that tension. You know, you can feel that tension in the movement where people are like, okay, bro, one of these days. And I almost feel like we're doing a new article just because the stuff that's in this report, it feels like it's just being done to us directly, and it feels like it's being done to us by Trump, and it feels like it's on purpose. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but
yeah, it does. And I go back and forth with it as well. I've been lately thinking about, I don't know if I've been talking about it, but I've been thinking about the analogy that gets used a lot by, in the context of the deep state, we talk about boiling the frog, right? Like that's kind of how the system has gotten so entrenched in society, where they slowly turn up the temperature. You could talk about this through many lenses. The money system is one of them, right? Why are the boomer generation not in our audience? I mean, generally, why are they not as upset about the monetary system as people who are 35? Well, as Trump just said in that clip, the monetary system kind of worked for them because it inflated the value of the mortgages, or inflated the value of the assets they held to such a degree that they probably have 2 or 3 of them. And meanwhile, their kids who are turning 40 can't get one of them. So, you know, it's boiling the frog. Each generation gets angry at the generation before it. Every generation has had its thing. The boomers had to deal with a world war, like, and before them, Vietnam. Like, it's, everyone's got something. But I have wondered, is that going on the white hat side of the equation too, where they are slowly trying to turn up the psychological heat? The issue is there's moral conversations that we have a lot about this, right? But leaving that aside, I try to look at, like, what is the end goal? If Trump is trying to make the country better and prompt us into helping with that, is that going to do it? Like, and I think people need to wake up I think the boil the frog approach can work in terms of getting people angry at these things, and I think that there's value in that, and I talk about that a lot. But frankly, there are some of these issues. What are we supposed to do about JP Morgan's interest rates? You know, like there's a certain amount of like, oh, well, thank God all the normies woke up tomorrow, right? Everyone woke up. Trump made everybody mad enough. Okay, how do I buy a house? Do I still need a house? Yes. Do I still need to buy groceries? Yes. Well, now I'm mad and I'm buying a house and buying groceries, or I can't buy a house and can't buy groceries. Like that's where, if that is the goal of the Trump administration right now, to turn up the heat, I believe it must be temporary and it must be accompanied by real actions. And I know we talk about not outsourcing this stuff all to them, but the fact of the matter is, we as a people outsourced all of our power, and all of our power was taken from us. And the fact of the matter is the Trump administration currently wields all that power, right? Like, they have our money. They have our banking system. They have our military. They have our everything. So yeah, the American people need to wake up, but they also need to give it the fuck back, right? Like, you need to give it the fuck back. And I think it needs to be both of those things. And if it's all psyops all the way down, then they can go fuck themselves. It's like, you guys are still taking in $1 trillion a year in tax money from the American people while telling them to get mad about it. Like, at what point are you not just the deep state?
Yeah, this is the exact conversation we had Saturday too. Let me read this. Okay, this is from one of the sections here. I know it's kind of small, but if I zoom in, it takes me like a completely different page. So you guys are just gonna have to live with it for now. But these are the conditions for psyops. Okay, I'm gonna kind of paraphrase my way through this. Conditions are those existing elements that affect the target audience, but over which they have limited control. Conditions affecting a particular target audience are limitless, and many may be irrelevant to the SPO. During the TAAP, only those conditions that affect the target audience are relevant to the SPO are listed or considered. They have 3 elements: a stimulus, an orientation, and a behavior. A stimulus can be an event, issue, or a characteristic. An event is anything that happens that affects the target audience. Examples include an increase in the cost of consumer goods, enemy shelling of the target audience's town, or the election of a new leader or representative. An issue is an existing factor that affects the target audience. Examples include the current cost of consumer goods, laws, regulations, or policies, or the current political structure. A characteristic is any demographic feature of the target audience and may also be classified as a vulnerability. Examples include average age, income level, level of training, religion, ethnicity. It is not crucial that the PSYOP analyst identify which types, blah, blah, blah. Let me see. Orientation refers to how they feel or think about a particular stimulus. And again, this is a training guide where they're talking. This is a military training guide where they're trying to figure out how to, or teach somebody how to, like, choose your targets that you're going to PSYOP. This is back in 2003. They talk about like leaflets and speakerphone, is stuff. Where right now we have social media. This is 20 some years later. The use of social media is so pervasive, but it's the principles of this that they're still doing, which is why I find this so interesting in some of the stuff they're talking about here. An attitude is a consistent learned predisposition to respond in a particular way to a given object, person, or situation. Beliefs are convictions about what is true or false based on experiences. Let me go down to this one part about predicting behavior. Here we go, the vulnerabilities. And this is what they target. And this is what I feel like sometimes we are being like targeted by both sides, and the Trump side is pushing us further to the brink. Needs, wants, and desires are all expressions of the same concept. Target audience that has one of these will, at varying levels of effort, strive to satisfy them. For the purposes of PSYOP, they are all the same. If the target audience strives to satisfy it, PSYOP can use it. The desire of a target audience to fulfill, alleviate, or eliminate a need provides the motivation for them to change their behavior. And this is what I keep.
This is the Q drop thing. Only at the precipice will people find the will to change, and that's what are the drops? A PSYOP. And I think they're a PSYOP by the good guys. Doesn't mean I agree with how everybody talks about the drops. I certainly don't. But I do think that they were a good PSYOP, which you've talked about in your series. And I agree with that. I think that is what's going on. But My point is more, there is an actual disparity in power projection capabilities between the people being psyoped and the people doing the psyoping. So, it's kind of like, I don't know, I've got a kid now, right? And he's obviously very young, but like, if I train him to box and I need him to learn through adversity, right? Do I put him in with a gold glove his first fight? And I'm like, man, you took all that head trauma and you're never going to be the same. But now you learned that there's levels to this game, right? There's got to be, if you're doing it with good intentions, there has to be a pathway to victory as part of the wake up. And I think that is the balance that they're trying to affect. Because I do think they're psyoping people into waking up, right? But again, like I said, on the economic front, okay, this stuff is, I think the psyops are more effective when it comes to culture war stuff, right? I think the American people are largely fed up with pronouns in the bios and all this kind of DEI shit we've been talking about for the last few years. Like, there's been massive backlash on that. And Americans actually did start taking action. They started boycotting companies, like all this stuff. Hollywood is falling apart. That isn't the Trump administration that's doing that. That's the American people that are just done with it. So the psyops have worked there. But again, how does the psyop work when it comes to my mortgage? With taxes, maybe the psyop is like, you got to stop paying them.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't. Yeah,
that's the real conundrum. Is like, I feel like we are no longer necessarily targets of the psyop, if that makes sense, because I feel like that's what it means to like truly wake up in this, is recognizing the info war and the psyops and operating outside of those bounds. Like, you become unpsyopable. And I feel like that's where we're at, even though we're probably not perfect, of course. But it's okay. So if we're not going to be affected by the psyops, we recognize the fakeness and the gayness. Our fake and gaydar is spot on. So what do we do? How do we operate? What are where are we supposed to be? If we're the driving horse in media or whatever, where are we driving that car to? And I think that's what, we're constantly trying to figure out game theory, what the move is, and try to stay ahead of the game, while also simultaneously claiming not to have all the answers. That's the difficult part, which is why we do the groups thing as well. The badlandsmedia.tv/events, click find your local group. You can join a group, and it's going to be different for everybody in different areas, but I fully stand by that. That is part of this, is us doing it without them. You said it before, like, they have it, they have to give it back. Well, do they give it back, or do we just fucking take it?
Yeah. Well, and I think that maybe that's kind of the answer, right? And do we? I guess maybe a different way to frame what I'm saying is, if it's true that the Trump wants the American people to take their power back. Let's use the framing you just used, and not that he's going to give it back, but that he's trying to provoke the American people into reclaiming their power, which I do largely think is the point. I think that was the point of the drops and all that. Starts with taking your mind back, which you just said about the awakening. My point is, there are ways the American people can take their power back, Donnie. And there are a lot of people that we have decried over the last few years that advocate for that type of thing. My point is that if you fuck up and you fuck around with the American people too much, hey, we're trying to motivate you, you motivated us. Okay? Now you're going to get a real January 6th. And that's not what I'm advocating for, and that's not what I want, and we have been very clear about that from the inception of Badlands and before it. And most people in the Q community have been on that same page. But that's the other side of the coin. If there is no, you hand the shit back once we ask for it back. So I think the way I would reframe it is, I think the American people do need to demand their power back, but then it needs to be given back. It can't be, for example, if you stop paying your taxes, the Trump administration needs to fuck off. As a result, right? You better not go after people, or you better not allow the IRS to start garnishing people's wages. And people in this community can say whatever they want, that have already been, they've done it, and they're brave, and they're better than me, whatever. It is what it is. I'm just saying, there are people whose lives have been ruined because they come up against a power apparatus that they cannot defeat. And no amount of posting on social media about how based you are is going to get over what they can do to you in these power apparatuses. My uncle's wages were garnished for not paying his taxes. Like, it ruined his entire financial life. So if people are able to do it now with a different outcome, then I would suggest that's the devolution sandwich that you talk about. That implies that maybe they are trying to help from their side of the door. But you do need both in order to avoid a kinetic revolution. Because the only, and it's like, nobody could argue with this, in my opinion. If they are not helping from their side of the door, if they're not pushing from their side of the door, and people stop paying their taxes, but not everybody at once is going to do that. That's never going to happen, no matter how much you psyop people. It's going to start with a few people, and then a few more, and then a few more. If there's no help from the other side of the door, you're going to get either a tyrannical crackdown by the administrative state, or you're going to get kinetic revolution by the American people because they've done it before. And that's the same thing you're going to get in France and Germany and beyond. So that's why I do think people go to one extreme or the other of everything is a movie and we're watching a plan and don't do anything and sit on your ass, which we are strongly against. And then there are people that are like, what are you doing thinking that Trump has some kind of plan? Why don't you do it yourself? And it's like, oh yeah, I'll go to JP Morgan's offices tomorrow. I'm going to go talk about interest rates, and I'm going to do that. And also I'm going to get us uninvolved in all these foreign wars. Like, there's two sides of that equation.
I agree. Now, I do want to get to a couple other topics before we get out of here, and we're probably not going to go our typical length tonight. So we'll jump to the next one here, and that is this. Actually, I don't know which one I want to do. Maybe we can do, we'll do this one first, the John Brennan one, because this one could probably be a little quicker. John Brennan's lawyers have confirmed that he is the target of a Florida grand jury probe, and he's asked the judge to intervene. It's pretty notable. I mean, we've kind of long speculated that this guy was a target, so that part's not surprising here. I think the most interesting part of this entire thing is right at the end of it. He sent the letter here. They sent it to this judge, Cecilia Altonga. It's a Bush appointee. At the very end of it, it's like they're listing all the reasons why the whole thing is, what they think is corrupt or whatever. But the very last line, or second to last line, for all these reasons, we urge your honor to exercise your supervisory authority as chief judge to ensure the United States attorney does not steer this matter to the Fort Pierce division and to the courtroom of Judge Eileen Cannon, who we've talked about many times in this network in the past. She's the one who is pretty favorable to Trump throughout the documents case down there in Florida. So Brennan's a little freaked out, and I think with good reason, because she knows the ins and outs of some of what was done in the documents case. And I think if that's the reason they're bringing the case down there and not, anywhere else, he has reasons to be concerned. I don't think this will work. If it's meant to go to Eileen Cannon, it's going to go to Eileen Cannon. But we'll see what happens. I think it's interesting he's freaking out.
Yeah, I'd say this is a white pill, and obviously it's not actual, like it's nothing, justice isn't served, right? But this is notable. We always talk about narrative deployments, and they tell you a lot. Well, do these guys seem like they're confident that they're going to get away with it? For as much as we've talked about justice hasn't been served, the only people that don't seem really confident in that are the people who are being targeted by these investigations. So that's encouraging. And then I would also say that, just to loop it back into the segment we just ended, this might be the perfect example of what we're talking about. What power, besides talking about these things, which I do think has real power, do we have to bring John Brennan to justice without breaking the law? None. Zero. And that's kind of one of those things where, like, if you don't think that the Trump administration is actually going to do anything, then these people are not going to see justice. If they do see justice, then there is a two-way, push going on into the future.
Yeah, we better see some freaking justice. People are getting antsy.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think it's a good thing. I like people being on edge. People were so comfy when Trump got elected, and I did not like it. Like, why are you guys as comfy as you are? You need to be. I think you can only really have growth as like a person on an individual level or on a societal level from a place of discomfort.
Right.
I don't think you can do it if you're like super comfy and fat and lazy on the couch, you know? You got to be like fight or flight mode, right? So yeah, there's that. We also have I want to do the SCOTUS rejecting the Chicago National Guard thing, but there's this one other story I wanted to get to as well. Can't remember what it was.
Battleships and Epstein.
No, Epstein. It was Epstein. So we'll end on the Epstein one, but before that, let's get a quick word from ourselves at Soft Disclosure. Guys, it's Christmas Eve where you are, and you know, if you're like me, you want to celebrate with your family, and you also want to have a nice, soft, smell goody beard. And you can only get that with the beard oil. Soft Disclosure, man. Your beard is looking quite voluptuous right now.
Scruffy. Yeah, it's for the last week I've been using the unscented Soft Disclosure beard oil, and it is fantastic.
Yeah.
I actually am I don't ever buy beard oil, so like I just didn't really know what it did, to be honest. I figured it made your beard soft, but I never grow my beard out to this degree. This is just because I've given up completely. But if you have also given up completely, or if you just have a well-kept long beard, which I don't, Soft Disclosure has helped tremendously, because what happens to me is once it gets to like medium length, I get scared of trimming it because it gets all tangly and it rips my face apart.
Mm-hmm.
So then I don't want to, but Soft Disclosure has smoothed it all out. So now it's voluptuous, but it's not actually tangled up. It's very soft.
Yeah. I love this stuff. Obviously, the lotion products are great too. Talibar. I mean, you can't go wrong. Get yourself some Soft Disclosure. We're going to be removing some of the discounted pricing here shortly, going into the new year. So check it out.
Soft Disclosure just dropped new favorites for the season. The lotion, your 5-ounce favorite, is still here. And now we've added full 11-ounce bottles. New Lavender Tea Tree Deodorant, clean, calm, and effective. New tallow bars, chamomile lemon rose, and naked. Rich moisture that actually works. And now the lineup is complete. Beard oil in unscented and spiced vanilla. Palo lip balms, available in chamomile mint, vanilla, naked, and vanilla tangerine. Palo bar minis for pocket-ready hydration. Available in vanilla coffee and naked. And finally, lavender vanilla lotion. Clean, calm, and made to work. Visit softdisclosure.com. Use code Badlands and get 15% off. Soft Disclosure, for truth you can gift.
I still think our worst decision as a business, Soft Disclosure, was making our deodorant last so long because of the repeat customer conundrum. Like I'm literally using the same deodorant sticks I got 2 of them. One of them was the mint one of them was the lemon grapefruit, I think, or whatever. Both of those I got at Deadwood, at that Gart, and I haven't had to get new ones since.
That's why I started, was it on this show that I think we started accidentally running the correct PSYOP on this, which is that you can technically eat those.
That's right.
And if you do start eating them, you know, seasoning your steaks in Soft Disclosure, you will use it faster, which means you'll have to buy more of it from us.
Yeah.
Like, what we want is to ultimately become dealers. You know, the cartels are going out of business. There needs to be a new cartel, and we're ready to step up.
Yeah, I agree. We need to get
need it.
What is a skincare product we could use that is like powder form that we could smuggle on boats to Venezuela and back?
I like where your head's at.
We need to think of something we can do.
Fine Colombian.
What would it be?
Baby powder, maybe.
Baby powder? Yeah, we could probably get into that.
Because the current baby powder gives everybody cancer, from what I understand.
And I feel like we could come up with a baby powder that doesn't give cancer.
Exactly. It might, you know, it might be cocaine, but what would you rather?
Yeah. Well, I feel like we could avoid the cocaine too. What about like the only other white substance I can think of is like flour. Can that be baby powder?
I don't know.
Or is that only for cooking?
I assume. I feel like you could use that for babies.
Okay, so we just need to get some flour and add some scent to it.
We'll just sell scented flour
and call it
inedible
baby
flour.
powder.
We'll take the prime use case of flour. We're going to strip away from it and sell it to you guys as just smelly, innate,
non-cancerous,
inert. Yeah, non-cancerous. That's the sell.
Yep.
This useless product will not give you cancer, as far as we know.
And the use cases are many.
Right.
Probably baby powder too.
Right.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. We're in some product testing right now, so just bear with us. But you can all be co-founders once we come up with the official white powder product of the future.
I did, speaking of seasoning steaks, cooked my best ribeyes I've ever done the other night because I watched this YouTube guy, Babish. Have you ever seen him?
No.
It's like Cooking with Babish or something. He's just this YouTuber who blew up from New York, I think.
What?
But he's just like a normalish guy. What?
Babish? Is this a white dude?
He might be. Yeah, he looks white to me. I don't know if that's a Jewish thing or not. I don't know if that's his first name or his last name. But he's a cool guy. And I've been cooking my ribeyes wrong the whole time.
Well, how do you do it right? What's the trick?
So he said you bake them at 225 degrees, like low heat, for half hour, 45 minutes, and then you give them a sear in butter. Serve them that way. Where I've been cooking mine, I like them on the grill still, but if I'm in the house, I've just been like pan searing them until they're done, and it worked tremendously. I actually thought it wasn't going to work because I pulled them out of the oven and I was like, man, they're already at like 140 degrees when I used my chef IQs.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that they were going to be totally done through, and then ended up searing them for like 5 minutes and they were perfectly pink inside.
Wow.
Yeah. So a little pro tip, low heat bake, and then
you need a cooking show. You need a cooking show on Badlands. My mom has been begging for one, bitching in the kitchen.
I could do that. Could do a cooking show.
You got to move to North Dakota. You and my mom can do
awesome
cooking show.
I cooked. I made shepherd's pie tonight.
I don't hate
my dog
shepherd's
is no
pie.
longer with us.
You say your dog's no longer with us?
He was acting up. I always tell him next time it's going to be German shepherd's pie.
Funny. Okay. Last topic. I think. No. Do you want Epstein or Chicago thing first?
Which is going to be more positive to end on?
Let's just briefly comment on the SCOTUS one because I haven't finished reading the ruling. And by haven't finished, I mean I also haven't started. Mm-hmm. But I think it's gonna be worthwhile because it's just combing through it. There's multiple mentions of posse comitatus in this. They're basically like, Trump, you can't do this unless you declare an insurrection. And some of the social media reaction, you see people like, oh, well, they're basically telling Trump if he wants to do this, which he says he wants to keep doing this, he's going to have to invoke the Insurrection Act. But anyway, the Supreme Court has rejected the Trump administration's emergency request to allow National Guard troops to be deployed in Chicago, marking a setback for the administration's attempts to curtail high crime rates in major cities. President Donald Trump has sought to deploy the National Guard in Chicago in the face of aggressive pushback from the citizenry and local government over immigration and customs enforcement operations in the Windy City. The court rejected the administration's interpretation of federal law regarding what constitutes regular forces. At this preliminary stage, I'm going to read this part too. The law allows the president to federalize the National Guard when he can no longer execute the laws of the United States with regular forces, which the Trump administration characterized as federal agents, such as ICE agents. However, the court ruled that regular forces likely meant the United States military, which makes sense. I don't think we had ICE back at the, when the Constitution was.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
So I understand. But there were some, I think Thomas and, was it Gorsuch, dissented? But I could be wrong. At this preliminary stage, the government has failed to identify a source of authority that would allow the military to execute the laws in Illinois, the court said in its unsigned order. 3 of the Supreme Court's conservative justices dissented from the majority. That's Alito, Thomas, and Gorsuch. The ruling is a rare defeat for the administration given the court's 6-3 conservative majority, which means Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett sided with the libs to pass this. But yeah, the actual ruling
Barrett does
here.
that a lot.
What was that?
Barrett does that a lot.
Yeah, I did have AI summarize some things here. Because the Posse Comitatus Act generally bars the military from executing the laws, absent specific statutory or constitutional authorization, the court reasoned that applies only where the military could legally execute the laws and the president is still unable to do so with those forces. Blah, blah, blah. Kavanaugh concurred. Alito and Justice Thomas dissented. They criticized the majority for departing from the party presentation principle by raising the deciding the regular forces issue that respondents had waived or abandoned below. He would decide the case on the understanding both sides initially shared that regular forces means federal civilian law enforcement, then uphold the president's determination and grant the stay. That's interesting. But yeah, so we'll see what happens here. I will read through this. I don't know if you have any comments to add to it, but I feel stupid talking too much on it, considering I haven't read the actual ruling yet.
I mean, generally, we've been talking for a couple of years about the idea of defining presidential authority, right? Yeah. And obviously this is furthering that. I don't know which direction it's going to go in. The other thought that popped into my head, and this is more of like wish fulfillment thinking, but it would be interesting if the administration kind of loses a lot of these arguments when it comes to their ability to, in their view, in Trump's view, protect and serve the American people with the U.S. military within U.S. states, right? That's where a lot of this argument is. What's the federal authority? What's the military's authority on a state level? If they start like losing all of these decisively, do they pivot into a direction that is saying, or that basically turns the heat up on the states and says that Trump has hinted at this rhetorically, but he's not really gone all the way, where he has basically suggested some of these governors and attorneys general, etc., are what's the word? If not treasonous, then derelict in their duties.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if legal challenges to like constitutional challenges to that effect could be a pathway we see in the future if this doesn't work. Like right now, it feels like Trump is saying, I can put the military here because I'm protecting the American people. And the state, the governors are like, no, fuck you. This is not your domain. And a lot of anti-federalists and libertarians, including a lot of people in our audience, might agree with that. The problem is, what if the people entrusted to guard the sovereigns of their state are the ones facilitating this activity? That's stuff that Trump has talked a lot about, but I've not seen any action directed at state level actors.
And that's the interesting part here, right? Because as I talked about in my Devolution series, I was constantly looking for something, and I don't want to call it a loophole, but I do believe Trump is, as the winner of the 2020 election. I fully believe he legitimately won that election, and he knew he did. He had the mandate, but he was still looking for like a constitutional method to step away and keep guardrails in place, knowing that he would eventually come back later in whatever form or fashion. And a lot of the stuff I looked into was like a president's authority, especially during Civil War. And I always go back to that Campbell versus Clinton case. A war can exist without a declaration on either side. It's up to the president to determine to what degree of force the crisis demands. And to me, that's like, okay, whatever the actions of the enemy is, the president can interpret that as he sees fits and respond as he sees fits. And then like so far this term, we've seen like, it's almost the war on terror point, like 2.0, he declared these, drug cartels, terrorist organizations. And he says we're basically at war with them, and we have drugs, fentanyl being a weapon of mass destruction. It's like he's almost like doing a repeat of what the Bush administration did with the war on terror in the Middle East. And so to me, it's like, that's just like one part of it. As much of a problem as that even is, like the bigger issue here are these elected representatives who were put in place via fraudulent election system and all this shenanigans and bullshit, like the deep state that you've been telling us about, as you said. And so if we're not going to directly call these people out and expose what's going on here and what these people are doing in Chicago or all these other blue states or red states or wherever, then like what does this really even mean? Like, okay, Chicago says they don't want you to bring these National Guard troops in there. SCOTUS says, yeah, well, you can't. But what if the people who are saying you can't bring those in there are the actual reason you want them in there in the first place? What do we do then? Like,
Exactly.
So maybe if they would approach this and just rip the Band-Aid off and expose the crimes and be like, that's why I'm bringing these people in. Stop me if you can. We are the enforcement arm. Like, what the Supreme Court can't actually stop Trump from doing any of this stuff when it comes down to it. If Trump wanted to put the National Guard in there, Kavanaugh's not going to be coming down the street and being like, sorry, guys, you have to go home. And it's not like they're going to listen to him. They're the enforcement arm. They're the sword. So honestly, I would love to Trump at some point see, like, show that SCOTUS is also illegitimate. We keep talking about them redefining these authorities for the president and putting all these different, the three branches back in their boxes, but that's still leaving it up to one branch here, the SCOTUS and the judiciary. We're still leaving it up to them to do that for us. And it's not even really Trump. It's like Trump asking them to do it. And these people, how many of them were installed by somebody who was put there by a fraudulent election system? Like, there's so many of them too. It's all failed and fraudulent to its core. It's fraud all the way down. So we either stop pretending to operate within this game, or I don't know. I guess we just keep doing it forever. But at some point, like, you'd think Trump would step away from the existing paradigm and this existing battle space and be like, okay, guys, we've been playing in this one for long enough, but I'm going to invite you all to come over to this other side where the real game is being played, and you can leave that one if you choose to. But that's where all the bullshit is. This is the real one. This is the actual constitutional path we're operating on. I don't know.
Yeah, it's well said. And I think, you kind of transitioned probably into the real end game, which is the judiciary, because it is, to your point, we talk about these three branches, co-equal branches and everything, but that's not really how it functions. How it functions is that SCOTUS is in charge of the country. In terms of red lines, right? They're kind of like the ultimate red line that could be good in a straw man argument, but well, actually it can't be, because you just kind of actually debunked that point in advance too, when you said Trump could just do it, right? They can't stop him. They don't have any actual power projection capabilities. The law does not have any power projection capabilities at all, depending on who follows it. Yeah. And that is good or bad. So even in the example I was going to bring up as well, maybe you'd want the Supreme Court to be a backstop against a tyrannical regime. But they're not a backstop against a tyrannical regime, even if they were a good Supreme Court, because a tyrannical regime isn't going to listen to them. So they're just going to do what they're going to do. But this all actually kind of loops back into a lot of our discussion tonight, which is the mandate of the people and our discussion the last couple of years. And I think it's clear. I think we can infer that even if we don't know where things are going, that is a lot of what's going on here from Trump's side of the equation. Maybe a white pill on it would be, I think it's interesting that he used Washington, D.C. as a template on an actual level on this stuff over the summer, right? So he actually did deploy military in D.C. You got the gnashing of teeth on liberal Twitter, which is very small these days. You got some activists that got upset. A guy threw a sandwich at somebody. But I would say the overwhelming actual response to that was support by the people in the area who had been being terrorized. And then after the fact, the sort of hindsight game where everybody realized based on crime statistics, whether they're real or not, how good of a move it was. So it really seems like the only block standing in his way these days is how does he think the people in these places would respond to a very open conflict between him and the state sovereigns, the state governor, because that's what it's going to come down to. Like if he has the people on his side in Chicago, let's say, but Pritzker is threatening him, does he just call the bluff at some point? I would guess that we don't have the answers here, but
it's up to
I would like to think so.
It's up to the people. It really is.
Yeah, it is.
It's like at some point in all these blue states, if you don't like what's going on there and Trump's trying to fix it and your state is not letting them do it, what can you do? You may have to up and leave. What?
You could vote. You could vote harder. Have you considered? I know you're against voting and all that, but have you considered, like, how hard did you vote?
Like I almost broke my pencil. I was voting so hard, but maybe I need to vote so hard that I do break my pencil.
Stronger pencils, like we could get that done. We could get like steel plates like they use for Bitcoin seed phrases, so you can really put some pressure down on there. They're like, this guy's got a seed phrase, type of vote going on here. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, it comes down to the people.
Other people come in the booth with me and push on my pencil as I vote hard. So it's like double voting hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like a little bit of communism too.
I could also vote like more than once.
Mm-hmm.
If I vote really hard twice, that's got to be better than voting hard once.
I've been told the only way to do that is to die and then vote again. So
I do have people I know that have died. I could vote for them too.
Yep.
That would be hard.
Doing that already?
What?
You haven't been doing that?
No. I wasn't voting hard like you.
Yeah.
I didn't know the tricks.
That's how hard I've been voting, man. You got to step your game up. There's levels to this shit.
This is crazy.
Ultimately, this actually, I think, does go back into what we're talking about of the, you mentioned, the PSYOPs from our side. And this might be a really good example of one that I can understand, as I always use the Watchmen quote, without condoning or condemning, I understand. If you are Trump and you are looking at Chicago, for example, which is obviously notorious, and you're sitting there like, Trump knows everything we're talking about. He knows he can do it. And he probably knows that the majority of people would accept it. But are they waiting internally for a certain tipping point to make that step? And you can debate the morality of that, but leaving the morality of that aside, I understand it. I understand why that would be something they're doing. If they're sitting there being like, well, we have reason to believe based on projections we haven't seen that things are going to get really, really bad in some of these areas. And Trump has made such a public fight about this in order to magnify the examples as it's getting bad. I even saw it. I don't even click on these things because it's depressing. But even today I saw on my feed somewhere like very viral. I think it was Seattle. Like some old woman got,
hit with a stick.
Yeah, by a guy who'd been arrested with 30 priors. Right? Whether that's true or false, you'd think it's the president's responsibility not to save that one old woman, but like to go into fucking Seattle and be like, enough. But maybe there's a reason. I sometimes think those stories, we call them fake sometimes, etc. But I think sometimes it's us, I think sometimes it's the good guy psyops that are boosting those things.
Oh,
that are
totally.
saying like, yeah.
Totally.
Like, hey, look at this.
And I think it's another one of those things where Trump can wield the economic weapon to get some of these people in line, and it could help us too, because if you stop giving the federal tax dollars to all these blue states and all the states, period, just stop giving any of these states money and see what happens. See how long they can keep going with any of it. They can't. It's a house of cards, and as soon as that federal dollar is pulled away from them, it all falls apart. And it could be a shit show for a while, but I think it's a required shit show. It needs to happen.
Yeah, and as somebody who lives in a blue state that I think I'd be in one of those sifting zones where it would become a shit show. I am willing to, either weather it or get the fuck out of here if I need to and go to a better place with my family and in that sifting process. But yeah, I think you nailed it there, that the money is huge. And I think this actually aligns. Let's take Trump at face value sometimes with these the tax conversation in particular. How can he maintain power projection capabilities as our elected president and commander-in-chief without any funding going to the federal government? Like I think you could get the American people on board in this transition period with a defense budget and bringing back the definition of the federal government as the protector of the American people. I think that that's fairly bipartisan. And, we can talk about taxation and all that, right? But even with our incredible spending on defense, a tiny fraction of your actual tax dollars percentage-wise are going to that, right? So if Trump is telling the truth about eliminating or greatly reducing taxes, or let's say eliminating federal income tax, he does that, but the U.S. military is funded by tariffs. Or alternatively, or in conjunction with tariffs, look at all these companies we're talking about, like the golden age and accelerationism. Look at all these companies that the federal government is now investing in that are going to be like this golden age push. Are they going to start getting massive windfalls of cash into the treasury from these AI companies? And then that can pay the U.S. military. So this all circles back to the point you're making about it's not just, the chaos, the financial chaos, I think would not actually affect the federal government as we originally intended it to be. But yeah, it would cause absolute mayhem on the state level, and that might be what we need.
It is what we need, man. And speaking of chaos, have you followed the Epstein story lately?
A little bit. I peek in and out of it.
It's retarded.
Yeah.
It's gone officially retarded. We got more stuff. Half-assed, haphazardly. I don't know the proper. Half-assedly, yeah.
Half-horsedly. It's not the driving horse of what we've been talking about.
Yeah, a lot of fake news. They had a fake Epstein killing himself video that they included in one of the release things, proven fake already. They had a letter of somebody like accusing Trump of rape, and this is man, we've been right. We've been so right about this Epstein stuff from the jump on this. None of us got on the rug. Well, maybe we did for a little bit. Some people
you and
did,
Chris in particular, I think, have been the most.
Yeah, I mean, I was hesitant and like just going with the flow for the most part. But then as soon as Kash Patel went on Joe Rogan, it was like, it's not what you guys thought it was. I was a clear rug, clear and present rug. It's a rug, everybody. And as much as people wanted to deny it, that is what it has been and always will be. And you can, if you are still on this rug, it is your own fault because there's no reason to be, and we've been trying to tell you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I largely agree with that. I actually talked about this a bunch with Sather on Sunday night on The Narrative, and I think we've probably brought it up on this show in different contexts, but in the last week alone, parallel to all the Epstein rugging, there's been all these releases coming out of the DHS that are seismic. Like really, let's just take them at face value again. They're huge. 62,000 illegally smuggled children have been rescued so far. By the way, they say they clarify that is post-Biden administration. So they're claiming that is this year. And there was another one we went over on Sunday night of this 764 organization that they've been targeting. Dan Bongino was actually talking about that a lot.
We interviewed BX on X on Basis Conspiracy, and she's the one who first exposed that.
So, and one of the things I was talking about Sunday night was buried beneath the lead there is the fact that the DOJ and DHS are saying that this is a satanic cult that is committing its crimes against children in order to destabilize society, which I haven't seen anybody talking about that. And what I found so big about that and encouraging is that they're letting this out in their DOJ releases. They're not just putting numbers on it anymore and saying this many kids have been trafficked and we're saving the kids. That's obviously fucking huge, right? But they're saying this is not just creeps. This is not what this industry is about. And I think this ties it into a lot of the sort of national defense, war against the deep state type of thing. They are saying in these releases that the crimes themselves are an attempt to subvert the country. It's not just the creepy guy in the weird house down the street that's involved in this shit. So this is stuff that this community, you talk about baseless conspiracies, we've been talking about this stuff for a decade, some people a lot longer. We haven't actually really seen the DOJ or DHS talk about satanic cults raping kids, and now they are. Yeah. So just interspersed among these numbers, and I guess to tie it back to Epstein, or rather to separate it, we talked about this months ago. If you can take Trump at face value, you mentioned Kash Patel. If you can take Trump at face value in the clip that you've been playing a lot on your show of when he seemed pissed off at the Epstein question, besides it being a rug, I think this would be why he would actually be pissed off. Like, look at what we're actually doing, and we are disclosing. We talk about wanting disclosure all the time, right? You can look at the releases; they're all there. They're disclosing what they're doing about this problem, and nobody wants to talk about it, including in the truth community. Nobody wants to talk about 62,000 kids getting rescued in a community that was built on wanting that to happen.
Yeah, that's why it's PSYOP. And another thing, like as I'm reading through this PSYOP guide or whatever, I'm equating it to stories that we see and things that we see daily. And the Epstein saga, it like fits so well into a clear side. Like, I'm not talking about the story. I'm saying how it's been weaponized against Trump. Mm-hmm. It's so clear to me. But yeah,
and
it is
calling
what it is.
Something a PSYOP doesn't mean you're calling all of it fake, which I think you've been talking about on your show. Doesn't mean we're claiming that the Epstein thing is fake, by the way.
I'm claiming it's a narrative weapon that has been weaponized against Donald Trump. He is not the one who's pushed the narrative. Other people have pushed it. It's been attributed to him unfairly and unjustly, and we're seeing the windfall of it right now. It's for this exact moment, so they could botch the release of it, and what little does come out is like fake and out of context and all this or whatever, and they're trying to make Trump look as bad as possible. That's the hoax here. That's the PSYOP. It's people getting upset over it.
I saw a clip from your show a couple days ago that who are the people pushing it the most? It's not the libs.
Nope.
It's the Con Inc. Brigade and a lot of Q people. Q commentators, I should say.
And I'm the only one who gets to do that because I'm the leading promoter of Q or whatever.
That's true. You were officially
the Q adjacent promoter.
So we had a brief moment in time where we were like influencers. And
is that what that was?
Yeah, we were Q. Well, I was called a QAnon influent.
I was Q adjacent.
Oh, right. So I actually outranked you at that time, and then a couple days later.
That's why I got the New York Times, front page spot just on me and my promoting of it.
Yep.
Written by Will Summer. Yeah, that was great. But man, I think we should wrap up here because we're getting close to 2 hours, which is already about 45 minutes longer than I expected to go tonight. But you know what? For you guys, it was a good discussion, and this is our Christmas present to you.
Yeah.
So
you're welcome.
Yeah, but Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas to you too. Did you get my Christmas card?
See you, I guess. Did you actually send one?
I did.
Oh wait, was it the jeans focused picture?
Yes, that was the one.
Yeah, I did get it. It was wholesome.
You got yours
I hate
too.
to say it. Yeah.
That
was the outtake of my son. She was trying to get. That's why I told her, like, listen, you're gonna do this whole photo shoot of the way you want him, and you're gonna end up using this picture of him when he's doing something unrelated.
Yeah.
And it's the best one.
That's how it works, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, good. Well, I'm glad you got that. Sent it out to a few people. You were lucky enough to make the list, Burning Bright, this year, anyway. But cool. Well, fun show. Hit the thumbs up, everybody. Appreciate you'll be back on Sunday. Who's your guest?
Alpha. Speaking of Q-fluencers.
Yeah.
But yeah, those guys don't do that.
No, they do a good job. I think Sunday, me and Zach are playing a video game or something.
Oh yeah.
We're playing a shooting video game.
In the game. I gotta figure out how to game again at some point and make it seem like it's work. That might be the path.
Well, we're gonna stream it, obviously. Yeah. So we're gonna figure that out. I don't know what the game's called. I don't know what time. I have no details whatsoever. But we talked about it yesterday or Monday for you guys watching now, and we're gonna do it. I think it's a battle space or Battlefield.
Battlefield. Yeah, there's a new one out. I never got into the Battlefield games, but I heard it's good.
Okay. Well, if you want to join us.
All right.
Don't know how we do that. But
LAN, man, just plug into the wall in your dorm.
And it connects to you.
In. Yeah.
All the way in
we used to have to do that in the old days.
Yeah, I used to do that with N64. We used to play 4-on-4 Halo Capture the Flag. It was so much fun. with a
We used-
LAN connection.
Our school had like a weird, or it had a firewall, so we couldn't connect to each other on Xbox Live. So what we would do is unplug the building's modem, their like router, and then jack directly in to. There was Ethernet jacks in our rooms, like
At
in the
the
wall.
school? You would
At
do
the
this?
school, yeah, at college,
wow.
and we would jack in our rooms and play. Then it would create a local connection.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
we would like take the internet down for our building so we could play. Now I'm disclosing that they're gonna be like,
That's a crime.
they're gonna serve. That'll be the latest
We
lawsuit.
finally got him.
Yeah.
Finally got him. Funny. Cool. Well, anyway, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up, and we will see you next time we see you. I'll see you guys. So you're watching this Wednesday. There will be no Daily Herald tomorrow on Christmas Day.
Wow.
But there will be Friday.
Watch last night's Badlands Story Hour if you guys are looking for something to do over the holiday. Kiss, Kiss, Bang, Bang. A strange Christmas movie that's also a very fun one.
Does sound pretty strange. Okay. See you, everybody. No outro video tonight.